Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me the time to speak today. My name is Alexandra Harrison-Flaxman, and I am here not just to share my own voice, but on behalf of the entire transplant patient community, and particularly the voices of those patients who do not have the opportunity to be here today. As a two-time kidney transplant recipient and patient advocate for over 2 decades, I believe that the patient voice is powerful and should be present and heard in every room where decisions are being made that could impact patient outcomes and access to care. I was diagnosed with Vater syndrome before birth, went through many years of reconstruction surgery, including having one of my native kidneys removed, went on dialysis for the first time at only 8 years old, and received my first kidney transplant at barely 11. Unfortunately, at 18, I lost my first transplant and went back on in-center hemodialysis for almost 9 years. In May of 2013, at 27 years old, I finally received my second gift of life, and it is because of access to non-invasive testing that I am in good enough health to be here sharing with you today. As many of you already know, the path to transplant is no easy journey, and for some patients, it's a journey that they won't even have the opportunity to start. With over 100,000 people currently waiting on the wait list for an organ transplant in the US today, almost 90,000 of those are specifically waiting for a kidney. Sadly, 17 people die each day still waiting for their gift of life, and a new person is added to the wait list every 10 minutes. With the national organ shortage crisis at an all-time high, now more than ever, for those of us lucky enough to have a transplant, we want to have access to innovations that would allow us to keep our new kidney, heart, or lungs healthy for as long as possible. An innovation that not only can detect if there is a possible issue, but can detect it sooner than standard post-transplant testing, allowing for earlier intervention and treatment and potentially better outcomes. Also providing a non-invasive option to alternative invasive biopsy. I have been fortunate enough to receive the gift of life not once, but twice. Receiving a transplant is precious, and we as patients want to do everything within our power to ensure that that gift is cherished and well taken care of. In February of 2020, right before the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, I had my first experience with a non-invasive blood test. I just moved back to my home transplant center and was reestablishing care. And while the rest of my standard labs, like serum creatinine, were within normal range for me, due to not having been under their care for some time, they wanted to perform a biopsy. This terrified me because of my previous issues with biopsies. When I had a biopsy done when I was younger, they accidentally nicked an artery, causing me to bleed uncontrollably for almost 3 days. My parents were told I was losing too much blood and it needed a transfusion, while hospital staff rotated holding bricks wrapped in towels on my abdomen, trying to stop the bleeding. Since then, the thought of biopsies gives me anxiety and PTSD to the point that I must be fully sedated in order to have one. At that time that my team wanted to do another biopsy, I was aware of the fact that there was a non-invasive option that we could try. I advocated for this, and my team ordered an AlloSure to get a full picture of the health of my kidney. A few days later, I would get a call from my coordinator letting me know that my AlloSure score had come back at 2.7, signaling that I was in fact experiencing some sort of injury. More testing would later confirm antibody-mediated rejection. Mind you, the rest of my labs were still within range for me. My team quickly went into action, putting together a treatment plan, starting me on multiple infusion therapies to help stabilize the ABMR. 3 months later, AlloSure was performed again, showing it had come down to 2.3. 2 months later, my creatinine would finally start to reflect that something was wrong. Now, this might not seem like a significant amount of time to you, but as a 2-time kidney transplant recipient who lost her first kidney at 7 years and 10 months, this was my greatest fear. To lose my kidney around the same timeline, and I was months from celebrating my 7-year anniversary with this current transplant. After 9 months of infusion therapy and immunosuppressant changes, my AlloSure would come down to 0.6. While the damage had already been done and I had entered into rejection, because of my team having the opportunity to act quickly, they were able to stabilize me the last 3 years, keeping me off dialysis and working towards a preemptive living donor transplant. I like to use the analogy of a house on fire. AlloSure being the smoke alarm saying, hey, something is wrong, but it's not too late to try and fix it. And even though the damage could not be reversed, because of the AlloSure, I only lost a room, not the whole house. Because of AlloSure, I celebrated 10 years on May 18th of this year. While I am now on the road to my third transplant, I could be in much worse shape than I am now. Only last week, I found out that my husband has been approved and is moving forward as my non-direct living donor, and I want to be sure that his donation, which will lead to me getting my new kidney, is not done in vain. I am already fearful of what the future may bring. Whether I have access to non-invasive testing shouldn't have to be a part of that. I share my story with you today to demonstrate how much we as recipients go through to protect our gift of life, a gift that was given so selflessly and deserves to be honored. Transplant patients need and deserve access to innovation in a space that has seen so little over the last several decades. It is important that transplant patients and their care teams be able to make informed decisions about their care without the worry of coverage. What is best for a patient and their transplant is a decision that should be made between the patient and their care team. Every transplant patient is unique and deserves individualized care and treatment. Restricting access to non-invasive testing would be detrimental to the transplant community, not only impacting patients and their transplants, but also the living donors and donors' families who have given the gift of life. This could also stifle future advancements that could be coming down the pipeline, limiting future innovation for our community. I hope that you will take all the remarks you've heard today into consideration. Thank you for your time.